So we got Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mel, let me tell you about it first, what happened. So Barry Bonds, in an interview, I believe it was with The Athletic.
I saw it on Facebook.
Okay.
I think I saw it on the group. I think someone was posting about it.
Okay.
I think they posted an article.
So Barry Bonds, in an interview with The Athletic, said that he feels like the Baseball Hall of Fame has given him the death penalty. Those were his words.
Which is very dramatic.
Well, yeah, that is dramatic for sure. And he was quoted as saying, "If you don't want me in, just let me know." You know, and it's like, well,
he doesn't put his name on that list, though, does he?
well, no, like he gets put on there as eligible, and then the writers vote. They decide whether they want him in or not.
Okay, how many votes did he get this last time? I thought last time when you guys were talking about this on the podcast that he was actually creeping up higher. He was, numbers.
And that's the way it tends to go. Is guys get higher and higher every single year.
Yeah. And
I want to say Bonds was in like 60%, something like that last time, and so he's getting closer to the required 75%, but he's not going to get there. He's only got 2 more. He's got, I think you're right, 1 more year on the ballot. But it's like they don't want you in there.
No, at least not this group, and so he won't. I think, I mean, I agree with them. Maybe they are, but I'm okay with it.
Well, that's the thing is they obviously don't want him in there because he's tied to steroids, and steroids are, pretty clearly the reason that he broke the home run record. And there's a lot of people unhappy about that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, you get it. It's like they told you already that they don't want you in.
They didn't give him a death sentence. He gave himself a death sentence by making the choices he made. So he's playing victim to something that he chose. Those are his choices. Mm-hmm. And like we tell our 5-year-old toddler, actions have consequences.
That's right.
Good or bad. There are always consequences, though. And this is the very not drawn out, but the very lasting consequences of what he chose to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think he really has room to complain or whine about it. I think once, maybe in a few years, when we get our first steroid user in the Hall of Fame, then I think he could maybe be a little bent out of shape.
Yeah, that he didn't get in.
Yeah, but until then, I don't think he has anything he can or should say, because it all comes back to his choices.
That's right. That's exactly right. And they always talk about how Barry Bonds is on the trajectory to be a Hall of Famer anyway, before he bulked up on steroids. So he was a 40-40 guy. He 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases when he's in Pittsburgh.
He's continued to deny it, correct?
Yes, he has.
So we don't actually know what year he actually started.
Right.
And so it's hard to know, I think. But since he's never actually come out and said what year he started, we can't, maybe he was... But like you said, if he was already, even from a young age, projected to do that well, it's a bummer that he made the choice.
It's true, yeah.
That's
exactly it.
And I don't think there's any denying that he didn't know or anything like that, where some players are like, I didn't know what I was taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
He definitely knew. That era, definitely, they knew what they were doing.
Well, and somebody who went from that small to that big, I saw a cartoon one time. It was a picture, it said Barry Bonds before steroids, and it said, I think that they described him as like a headline in the comic. It said, described Barry Bonds as like Somalian, because he was so little. He was so little when he broke into the league. Yeah. And then it says Barry Bonds after steroids, and it shows him all bulked up and huge, and that's exactly what it was. He wasn't a very big guy. I
remember seeing him. I don't remember if it was. It may have just been on TV growing up or whatever, but I remember he was a really big guy, and then that article had a picture of him at a podium, and honestly, I was like, "That's not Barry Bonds." Granted, he's aged, but he's so thin, and
thinned out. Yeah.
I mean, his shoulders aren't up to here, and his head looked smaller. Like I was kind of like looking at him, and I was like, "Really?"
Yeah, he looks more like he did when he broke into the league, the body type, because he was
very lean, and
he's not inflated.
I was kind of expecting him to kind of do like the steroids, like, which so I didn't.
All the fat turns to muscle, or the muscle turns to fat.
Yes, I didn't expect. Kind of, is it Mark
McGwire?
Mark McGwire.
Well, he stayed big. He might still be using. He's so big still.
Well, and I can't tell. But he's a pretty solid guy.
Yeah.
And so, he wasn't tiny before either. But,
right.
Anyways, I kind of expected him to be kind of this big guy. And so when I saw the picture, I was like, huh.
Oh yeah, yeah. He looks like somebody who just thinned out after playing baseball. Like you get like the
Yeah.
offensive linemen in the NFL when they retire, a lot of them will drop 50 to 100 pounds because they've got all that extra weight that they have to carry on, so they can't just
Yes.
get pushed around. And that's kind of what he looks like.
Yeah. So my question would be, do you think him coming out and saying this, because first off, why did he? Is this just a random thing, or is it, because it seems very far after all of the Hall of Fame stuff. So do you think this is going to help him get in or not for next year?
I don't think it'll have an effect on it. And I actually listened. It's funny you bring that up because I actually listened to an interview with the guy who wrote the article. He went on, I believe it was on Dan Patrick, and this is a guy who covered Barry Bonds when he played for the Giants, and actually had a really good relationship with him.
Interesting.
And so he was just sitting down talking to him, just doing. I don't even think he was doing an interview.
Yeah.
And he just opened up to him, just started saying all this stuff.
I wonder if he was like, then can I use this?
Oh, I'm sure,
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that people don't understand is as soon as you talk to a journalist, it's on the record, which can be unfortunate sometimes unless they're saying like specifically it's off the record, you don't have anything recording. But
yeah, I don't want to be friends with the journalist.
but yeah, he just was talking to this guy and this conversation came up and they ended up doing like a full conversation on it. He wrote the article and yeah. And and Barry Bonds did come out because the headline of the original article said that he felt like Major League Baseball had given him the death penalty when really what he was saying was the Hall of Fame, which I feel like makes more sense because they're not technically
well, and
connected.
that's what I understood from that was he was saying
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame. But either way, my firm belief is if this death penalty is his way of whining, I don't know. I still think it's 100%. You know what you did.
Mm-hmm.
You did not have the foresight to think that you were going to be this great. Maybe you did, or you wanted to be. You didn't realize the consequences that would then follow for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And what labels you would have and what... Because honestly, he probably just was like, I'll never get caught.
Oh,
and that's the issue.
Well, and the thing is, too, that I think gets overlooked a lot is at the time it wasn't technically illegal because they weren't testing for it. So it's like that's why there were so many guys. Yeah.
That he got caught?
Well, that he was connected to it. I mean, still he technically wasn't caught, but he was connected to it. But so many guys were using it, but we haven't had any of those guys get elected into the Hall of Fame yet.
Yeah.
And it's like we've
true.
said before, it's starting to come up more and more and more.
Yeah.
But none of those guys have gotten in. A-Rod has been campaigning basically to get in, almost like a brand rehabilitation tour.
Well, he is on TikTok, so that's a boost.
There you go. I mean, yeah. Enough said.
No, but anyways, okay, yeah. But that's your choices have consequences, and that's one of them. It is not. It's your own death penalty, and that is the consequence. You don't get to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So
exactly
for winners.
And like to kind of finish it up with this, we talked about how there's the committee who looks at guys down the road, and maybe they'll look at him and be like, you know what, he was that great. Yes, steroids took him over the top, and that's why he's the home run champion forever.
Well, we're not getting into your basement attic thing.
No, it's not a basement thing, but no, there's the committee. It's like the legend committee or whatever. I can never remember what it's called because I think it's weird. But they might look at it and say, you know what? Out of all those steroids guys, Bonds is the one who deserves to do it because he had longevity, consistency, and was consistently named one of the best hitter in baseball. So
nope.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's how it's going to happen, but if he gets in, that's how it's going to have to be.
Well, we'll bet on it one of these days, and you'll owe me something because it won't happen.
Probably.
I love winning a bet.
That's true. You win a lot of them.